Hello, my name is Grian, and today I want to show you some really cool tent designs. Now, they're not all tents. I couldn't think of a collective for all of these buildings, but we'll just call them all tents. So let's get straight into it with this first design. This is a very normal looking tent, especially compared to some of the ones we got going on later. It's made out of wood and wool predominantly, and it's got a really nice shape. You may have seen very similar designs elsewhere. That's because this is a very common one. We've used it in Wingcraft before, and they are everywhere. But there's a reason why they're everywhere. It's because they look awesome. We've got two pillars either side with a lead attached to an animal. There is, bing, there's a cat, and you hide him underground with the lead still attached, and it makes it look like the tent is actually pegged down to the floor, especially if you stick a button on the ground above it. It's a really nice little feature, but unfortunately it does like to glitch out if you log out at some point. On the inside, we've actually lowered it down one block. This is to give it more space. If it was at floor level, you'd lose out on these two side bits of space, so we're able to fit all of our amenities and the bed and stuff in there. So that's that design, one of the best and most common. Next up, we've got a very open style tent. This is perhaps a mining camp, or you can use your imagination where people would use these, and it's essentially made up of 4 freestanding bits of fence with a pretty cool looking bit of cloth over the top. Underneath you can put whatever you like, but it's this bit of cloth on the top which is just made out of wool, some carpets and some slabs to just give it a nice slanting effect. You need to make sure that one side is taller than the other, and then you can make all these little details with it by adding string and then carpets on top and then slabs in between the little nooks and crannies. It's not as complicated as it looks, and we will be using this technique later on for some other designs. Underneath, it's just an array of whatever you want. I just stuck a table, a chest, and a crafting table. Let's move on. Now, you can very easily argue that this is not a tent. This is my take on a modern tent design. So I don't know why you would ever want to make a tent that's in a modern style, but this would be my take on it. So we've got quartz block, all of the standard palette blocks such as the cyan stained clay and the dark oak to make this, and it's very square. It's got the very normal standardized procedure on how you make a modern style build, but it's got 2 open sides, and that's the main point there. Next up, we've got something a bit different. It's a lot larger than the one that we had over there, and it's a very organic looking build. This tree was handmade and has had all the leaves placed. Now, I'm mainly putting that there because a normal vanilla tree would not be suitable. So if you can be bothered to make a tree like that, and I have made videos on how you do those in the past, I recommend it. And then what we've done is attached the tent or the gazebo, whatever you want to call it, to the tree itself and used it to our advantage. So we got 3 freestanding posts and connected it up in the same way that we did that one over there with the green. So this time we just used brown because it matches the tree kind of nicely. And this would work really well in a logging situation if you made like a log camp. It's very aesthetic. Obviously in survival you're open to all kinds of danger. It's even got like some little interior bits. We've got 2 bits of wall that are at a right angle, and you've got everything you need in that little corner. As an extra little detail, we added a cauldron with some posts and some carpet and that kind of thing underneath with some coal ore to make it look like there used to be a fire there. So overall, it's a pretty cool design. Again, looks a bit complicated, and I don't expect everyone to go nuts on making that tree. Next up is one that you perhaps would have expected to be in here. It's more of a sort of Hun style tent, one that's very, very tall with an open face. All of these designs are pretty much intended for aesthetic purposes only, because if you actually made a tent like this, mobs would just walk in and kill you all the time. So let's talk about the design of this very, very quickly. It's a very simple circle, but it's also not symmetrical. These tents are not meant to look like they're perfect and put together really, really well. They are intended to be a little lopsided, a little imperfect, because that's just gives it that handmade nature of it. So it's a lot of mixture of dark oak and brown wool with a bit of cobblestone wool at the bottom to be tent pegs. Next up, we've got a very small and simple design for a summer-like gazebo, and inside it just has a table and chairs. It's a very small design here. It's got a bit of wool wrapped over the top and walls made of glass and iron bars. It's designed to be very airy and it's not meant to be too complicated, so I won't spend too much time going over this one. Let's have a look at the next design, which is a much larger style of tent. You might expect to see these at those giant American camps. We don't really have those in England, so I've had to base this design off of movies and stuff like that. Anyway, you can change the wool to be any color you want, so it's a bit distracting because it's blue, but the main thing is this wooden top. I know these are more like a cabin than a tent, but like I said at the beginning, I don't have a word that covers all of these designs under one blanket term. I could have said it's temporary accommodation, but even that didn't quite fit. Anyway, about the design, it's a very simple design, but it's also what I would call messy. The roof is messy, the wool placement is messy. It's meant to seem like a very hand-built shack slash cabin or whatever you want to call it. It's like a mixture of tent meets wooden shack. It's pretty cool design. Perhaps if I was doing it again, I'd go for a dark green wool. Moving on, we've got more of something that would fit in the garden of a modern mansion. It's a bit of an odd design, but in the right context, this could look really cool. It's like a community area, communal area where you just sort of chill out and relax. So we got this mushroom style with snow and jungle wood, and they're all tied down in all four corners with a load of fence gates and fences themselves, using a very wide variety of colors. So it looks pretty cool. It is a bit odd to look at, I will admit, but it's decorated nicely, and as I said, in the right context, this would be really cool, especially if you were all sort of sitting around it, having a chat. You know, it could be really, really nice. So you've got to try and experiment with lots of different designs when it comes to things like these. Don't be afraid to try out random things. Next up is something you might have expected. It's a very militaristic style tent, and the design is simple yet effective. We've got a large semicircle based on the floor with a doorway that is a smaller semicircle on the inside. Between it we have a wall set one block back with a window in. On the outside, we've got a very nice mixed texture of clay and wool. It works really, really nicely. And we've got a metal bar that's supposed to go over the top to give it some resemblance of structure. This does indeed resemble a very cool looking militaristic style tent, even if it is a little on the dated side. On the inside, we've got these really cool bunk beds. Now, if you don't know how to make these, it is easy. All we've got to do is place down blocks and then put a bed on top of it, delete those same blocks, place one underneath, and then add a couple of trap doors to them. It's very, very easy, and it has a very nice effect. Everything else is mainly texture. We've got buttons on the floor to act as stones, and we've got a mix of andesite, dirt, and gravel. On the outside, we've got a bit that juts out for storage. This is just a bit of wool that goes across and is held up by the same iron fence and cobblestone to match the theme with chests and stuff underneath. It's one of my favorite designs of this showcase. So let's move on to the next one, which of course is a circus tent, and I don't think this showcase would be complete without it. But at first glance, it does look a little bit complicated. So hopefully I can take you through the design really quickly, and it won't seem quite as daunting if you wanted to recreate it. We've got a circle base made out of red wool with 5, and then 2, and then 1, and then 2 again. And all you need to do is 1/4. If you get 1/4 down, you can easily replicate that round. So you build it up using the red and white wool, and make a ring of sandstone slabs around with these little bits that jut off of the corners. So far so good, pretty simple. You do the same on top of the wool with some fences, and then you need to make another ring made out of wool and do exactly the same thing with a ring of sandstone. Now it gets tough. This is where you need to make sure you get it right. This is the very tall looking pyramid shaped roof of the tent. Now, hopefully you could replicate it just from pausing the video and checking out where all of those bits are. But like I said, all you need is that 1/4 to be correct, and then you can easily replicate it round. And I'm sorry to everyone that probably won't bother making one of these. I just wanted to make sure that the people that did had a fair opportunity to do so. So it's got a flag on the top, it's got this nice sandstone, it's got great palette, great shape. It's probably the most complicated that it's going to get in this showcase. Let's go and have a look inside, shall we? So, as you can see, we've got our outside, we've got our little entrance, and on the inside, we've got a cool ring of seating and a nice chandelier made out of quartz and snow, and some more fences with a bit of glowstone in the middle for some light source. It's connected all the way to the top, and it's just a very simple design. For as big as it looks on the outside, it does seem a little small on the inside. So that's something to take into consideration. That took a little longer than I expected, but it's an amazing design. So let's move on, shall we, to a desert design. Now, when you see in the movies as like archaeologists in the pyramids and in the desert, stuff like that, they often have these rudimentary tents and they look pretty cool. So what we've tried to do is recreate that in some way. So the way you make this is fairly simple, even if it does look a bit complicated. We've got big arches made out of birch wood, because it's meant to match the whole yellowy sand type thing, and we've got some glass in between that's meant to be meshes for the bugs. On the top, we've got a birch wood roof, which is a bit of an odd design. It's got a very flowing kind of thing going on there. So underneath, we've got these fence posts that hang down at various different lengths, and that's just to be as a decorative effect. It doesn't actually add much to it, but it does look cool. We've got a couple of beds and chests, and it's mainly sand in here. There's not a lot of interior decoration. We've got the odd button to be a rock or two, but overall it looks really nice, especially in a desert situation. The sandstone that runs around the top is the primary detail of this build, and it's fairly easy to do. Shouldn't have too much difficulty copying that one. Moving on, we're going on to a slightly different take of a tent, but making a caravan. Well, we call them caravans in the UK, or trailers, whatever you call these things. In fact, leave a comment down below what you call these in your country. I'd be interested to know. So, the design of this is fairly easy. It's got a nice shape using snow, so we can have that gradual curve down to the front, and we've got a ring of iron blocks. Underneath, we have some slabs. With this bit over the top here, that is the sort of cloth part of this, quote, tent. See, this is why I didn't want to use the word tent, because not everything really is covered by that. Inside, it's fairly cramped, but you've got everything you need. The bed, the chest, the furnace, and the crafting table, and you could probably squeeze a little bit more in if you really, really tried. And you could even sit down inside if you really wanted to. So, although there's not a lot of space, it is functional in its design, so it's pretty cool. I really like this one. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? Which is a Native American style teepee tent. Now, I didn't want to offend anyone by getting it wrong. I am British. I honestly don't know a lot about these, and there's no sort of symbolism. I just put banners on to act like some paint. I put some wood down there to act like the poles that go through, and a banner on there to be a symbol of some kind, with some yellow banners on the top as well. It's got the most triangular tall shape I could get in as small a space as possible. Hopefully that makes sense. So at the top, we've got the yellow banners, also sort of indicating some sort of pattern, and that's no particular symbol for any kind of tribe or anything. It's just a random one that I made, and it's got fences on the top, and one of them is slightly longer than the other, and that's of course meant to be the long wooden poles that go through and hold everything up. So I think it looks really cool, and you could spend ages trying to get the right triangular shape, but at a small size you will always struggle. There'll always be that little bit of block sticking out. On the inside, it's pretty cozy. You've got a nice little bit of space. You can put a couple of beds there. I decided to put mine on the floor as carpets, and there's a couple of pots in there as well. Overall, I think it looks really, really nice, and this is the sort of tent that I think of when people say sort of an old-fashioned one. Moving on, this is a different style of tent. I've got 2 palm trees, a bed stuck in between the two, so the trees do have to be exactly 2 blocks apart, and then I've got a bunch of custom leaves over it with a bed in the middle and some wool over the top, and it's meant to be a hammock, so it is, I guess, a type of tent in a way. It's just a pretty cool take on the idea. Maybe you're making an island, and this would be a pretty cool way to make your shelter. Next up is a caterpillar tent. It does look pretty industrial with all the greys, the light greys, dark greys, the iron and the stone. So it does look pretty formidable, but it is meant to be one of those sort of modern caterpillar tents with multiple compartments inside. So this may be more recognizable as one of those modern tents, and I really like this design. It's really cool. It's not too difficult to make. It does look it because there's a lot going on, but if you try and break it up and it is in segments, you can see how easy this is to do. We've got the tent pegs that go all the way down just following the iron fence, and we got a big nice archway at the front that uses that string with carpet on top to make it float. On the inside, we've got some glass on the top, then with some trapdoors above that, and overall, it gives a really nice effect. I don't think you could get much closer to a caterpillar tent than this with the size available. So if you wanted to copy this, it wouldn't be too difficult. It's got a nice compartment thing going on, and you could even expand it if you wanted to. You could have bits coming off the side, you could make it even longer, you could make it even bigger. There's a lot of potential here with this design. Moving on, we've got a tent, but it's on a boat, and this is very small and compact. This is a sort of river boat kind of thing going on, and it's just got a little bit of cloth over the top using carpets, wool, and some banners with a couple of trapdoors as windows set on top of a fairly small boat. On the inside, it's about as small as it can get. You've got 1 block of space, you've got a bed, a chest, and there's not even a crafting table or a furnace, so it really is cramped inside, and you could make it bigger if you wanted to. The boat itself is just a few blocks long using upside down staircase, so it's really not too difficult to make. All of the detail is on that bit of wool over the top and that little bit that's meant to be like a sail at the front. Next up is one of the most complicated designs that we will see in this video. This is a Moroccan style tent where the back is closed and the front is open, and you can sort of sit inside and have drinks or whatever. So the roof is looking quite complicated, but if you take it in halves, and you can just flip it over if you manage to make one side. So there's a good look at how that roof looks, and it's got a different set of blocks. So we got the brown, the blacks, and the coal blocks, so there's a lot of variation there. Mixing textures that are very similar in color is a great way to make your build look more detailed without actually doing much. So if you manage to make this and then flip it over, you would be able to produce the whole thing pretty easily. The back of it is just a nice gentle curve that wraps round to the open front. We've also got these end rods that stick down, and they're meant to be like beads or sparkling things that sort of droop down, and it's sort of all of the traditional style of this tent, or well, Moroccan style tent. On the inside, we've got a few posts, and we've got, of course, some seating. We've got a little tables and chairs and cups, which are pots, and, you know, it's fairly obvious what this is intended for. And there's some banners placed on the inside strategically to make it have even more of a drooping effect next to those end rods. Moving on to our final design. This is meant to be like a war hut. Now, in history, when people went to war, like years and years ago, hundreds of years ago, they used to set up these sort of temporary accommodations, which is why I'm putting it in here with the tents. It's a wooden shack, fairly easy to make, and you've got these big bones coming out that look like elephant tusks in a way. I don't know if these actually ever existed, this is just a conceptual style, but you can kind of get what I'm going for here with this design. We've made use of the iron fence and the fences with a flag on the top, and we've got the end rods, and it does look like a little war hut. You might expect to find some sort of chief in here. We've got storage, we've got bed, we've got everything you need except a furnace in here, and we've even got some details on the floor with coarse dirt and pathways, because it just makes it look a little bit grubby in there, like the grass has now died underneath. So that is it. Oh my goodness. That was so many designs that it took 20 minutes to get through them all. So let's go all the way back through, and I want you to tell me in the comments which one was your absolute favorite design of this video, and which one will help you in some of your projects. Don't forget to tell me what a caravan is called in your country. I know it is in America, but I don't know everywhere else around the world. We've got our circus tent, we've got the military tent, we've got the weird mushroom thing outside, and I honestly don't know how many of these would be useful, and I do hope that at least one of them will spark your imagination, or that you would like to replicate it yourself in your world. We've also got my favorite modern design one, and a few traditional style tents back to the original, and you'll notice that the leads have disappeared. They do have that tendency to do that. Oh no, the cat has actually vanished. Oh dear. Well, that's it everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy these showcases. Please also let me know in the comments what you would like me to do next. I've recently done tents, I did animal houses. What are you making that you need to know more about, and give more detail and design ideas? Okay, thank you very much everyone. Goodbye.